Oh, darling, are you sure you can handle seating arrangements? Margaret Hastings' voice dripped sugar, laced with condescension. The gilded chandelier of Lafleur shimmered, reflecting in the expectant faces around the long mahogany table. My stomach dropped. No place card bore my name. My hands trembled almost imperceptibly. 6 years. 6 years of strained smiles, of biting back retorts, of silently funding their crumbling empire. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, I remained composed. Then my phone buzzed a notification. Refined Events nominated Best Event Planner NYC. Ever felt invisible at the table? Hit like if you know that sting. Trust me, things are about to drastically change. You won't want to miss this satisfying reversal. Subscribe for the full story. 2017, our first Christmas as a married couple. The Hastings family, gathered in their ancestral home in Newport, showered Andrew with lavish gifts: a vintage watch, a rare first edition, all steeped in family history. I received a generic candle from a department store, wrapped carelessly. Just a little something, dear, Margaret had chirped, her eyes flitting away. The scent, cloyingly sweet, filled the air, a constant reminder of my perceived insignificance. 2019, Andrew's sister Eliza opened her art gallery, funded by a trust. I offered to host the opening night through Refined Events, guaranteeing a flawless event. My team worked tirelessly, transforming the sterile space into a vibrant hub. Yet during the event, Margaret introduced me as Andrew's wife. She dabbles in parties. The slight cut deep, erasing my hard work and dismissing my professional identity. While they celebrated Eliza's artistic vision, I swallowed the bitter pill of their consistent devaluation. 2021, the Hastings family's summer yacht trip loomed. Andrew assured me I was invited. Yet, days before departure, Margaret informed me with faux regret that due to unforeseen circumstances, only family could attend. The circumstances, I later learned, involved Andrew's ex-girlfriend, a Hastings by blood, conveniently filling my place. Standing on the dock as the yacht sailed away, the salty air stinging my eyes, the truth crystallized. I was not family and perhaps never would be. This was not merely disrespect, it was a deliberate rejection. The nomination, a beacon pulling me from the depths of despair. It was validation, tangible proof of the empire I had built, brick by painstaking brick, while they dismissed me as a mere social accessory. My company, Refined Events, was more than parties. It was building legacies for others, curating experiences, and crafting a reputation of excellence. I knew I couldn't continue living a lie. For years, that truth had festered, a gnawing discomfort in the pit of my stomach. I remember the early days of Refined Events, the endless nights fueled by instant coffee, the cramped Brooklyn apartment that doubled as my office. The radiator hissed and clanked, drowning out phone calls. The scent of stale pizza lingered in the air, mingling with the desperation of a fledgling entrepreneur. No sleep, no stability, no recognition from the Hastings. I continued to strategically hide my success, not out of shame, but out of calculated self-preservation. Their acceptance was never the goal, it was freedom from their influence. With each passing year, Refined Events blossomed, securing exclusive contracts with global brands, acquiring prime real estate, and amassing a portfolio that dwarfed their declining assets. Building a fortress of wealth and success, one silent step at a time. My silence was not weakness, it was strategy. I was quietly outmaneuvering them, building my own empire while they remained blissfully ignorant. Their continued dismissal fueled my ambition. I will never forget a particular charity gala, one I meticulously planned and flawlessly executed. All they could say was, "Oh, it was you who put this on." Their surprise felt like a dagger. There was no appreciation, no recognition, just sheer disbelief. But the upcoming showdown was inevitable. As I stared at the empty place setting, the weight of their deceit pressed down on me. My fingers tightened around my clutch. The nomination notification glowed on my phone. The tension was palpable, the air thick with unspoken words. Something needed to give. I took a slow, deliberate breath. Tonight, the restaurant buzzed with the murmur of Manhattan's elite. Crystal sparkled, silver gleamed, and hushed conversations intertwined, creating a symphony of privilege. I could hear Margaret's brittle laughter, a sound that grated on my nerves. "Genevieve, dear, are you quite all right?" Andrew's voice, smooth as silk, yet laced with a hint of impatience, broke through my thoughts. I met his gaze, the familiar blue eyes now clouded with a nervous uncertainty I hadn't seen before. "Perfectly fine, darling," I replied, my voice even, betraying none of the turmoil within. My grip on the phone tightened momentarily, then I loosened it. No sudden moves. Remember the plan. Weeks ago, I had quietly instructed my CFO to discreetly document all financial transactions involving the Hastings family, tracing every dollar I had funneled into their failing ventures. I had also arranged for a private investigator to discreetly gather evidence of Andrew's indiscretions. I needed evidence. The waiter approached with menus, his smile practiced and impersonal. May I take your orders? Yes, Margaret began, launching into a detailed account of her dietary restrictions, a performance I had witnessed countless times. My eyes scanned the table. Andrew, ever the dutiful son, listened intently. Eliza, engrossed in her phone, occasionally interjected with a bored comment. My blood boiled. Their obliviousness is their weakness, I smiled. Actually, I interrupted, my voice cutting through Margaret's monologue, I think I'll pass on dinner. I just received some rather interesting news. Time to reveal myself. Margaret frowned, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows furrowing. Oh. And what could possibly be more interesting than Lafleur's tasting menu? The mockery dripped from her tone. This, I said, pulling my phone from my clutch. I tapped the screen, projecting the Refined Events website onto the nearby wall. A professionally crafted video played, showcasing our most spectacular events. A gala for the Metropolitan Museum of Art, a product launch for a Fortune 500 company, a celebrity wedding in the Hamptons. Andrew stared, his mouth slightly agape. Eliza actually gasped, dropping her phone on the table with a clatter. Margaret's face paled, her meticulously applied makeup suddenly appearing mask-like. But I thought, Andrew stammered, his usual composure crumbling. You thought I dabbled in parties, I finished, my voice laced with amusement. Refined Events grossed over $20 million last year, Andrew. I employ over 50 people. I own this building. Silence descended upon the table, broken only by the clinking of silverware from neighboring diners. I allowed the information to sink in, savoring the moment. This was not just about money, it was about respect, about recognition, about finally shedding the cloak of invisibility they had forced upon me. Margaret sputtered, That's impossible, you're a wedding planner. Her voice wavered, the venom replaced by a tremor of disbelief. Eliza, recovering slightly, picked up her dropped phone. 20 million, she whispered, her eyes wide with shock. I turned to Andrew, my gaze unwavering. And that's not all, darling. Remember Hastings Investments, the one that was on the verge of bankruptcy 3 years ago, the one I secretly laid out with my own money. His face drained of all color. He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. Genevieve, I have the bank statements, Andrew. I continued, my voice calm and controlled. Every transaction, every deposit, meticulously documented. It seems you were too busy with other things to notice where the money was coming from. The waiter approached, his earlier smile replaced by a look of awkward uncertainty. Is everything all right, sir, madam? I gave him a polite smile. Perfectly fine, thank you, we're just having a little family discussion. I turned back to the Hastings, their faces a tableau of shock and disbelief. The power had shifted, the game had changed, and I was finally holding all the cards. You laughed then, I stated, my voice echoing slightly in the stunned silence. You're not laughing now. A pregnant pause hung in the air, thick with unspoken recriminations and shattered illusions. The irony was almost unbearable. Eliza, ever pragmatic, was the first to break the silence. Genevieve, look, this is unexpected, but surely we can work something out. You wouldn't want to air family laundry in public, would you? Think of Andrew's reputation, the Hastings name. Her words were carefully chosen, a subtle attempt at manipulation. Reputation, I echoed, raising an eyebrow. The same reputation you so readily tarnished with your constant condescension and Andrew's extracurricular activities. I let the question hang, the unspoken accusation heavy in the air. Margaret, recovering her composure, chimed in, her voice regaining a semblance of its usual authority. Darling, you're upset, I understand. But financial matters are complicated. Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding. We can discuss this privately like adults. Misunderstanding? I thought, a bitter smile playing on my lips. Deliberate deception is more like it. Aloud, I said nothing, choosing instead to meet her gaze with a cool, unwavering stare. My silence was a weapon, a deliberate refusal to engage in their charade. Andrew, his face pale and drawn, finally found his voice. Genevieve, please, don't do this. We can fix this, I love you. He reached for my hand, his touch clammy and unwelcome. I recoiled, pulling my hand away as if burned. Love, I asked, a rhetorical question that hung in the air unanswered. Spare me the theatrics, Andrew. I've seen enough of your love to last a lifetime. My eyes flickered over the room. I'm tired, excuse me. As I stood to leave, Andrew lunged forward, grabbing my arm. Genevieve, wait. The family business needs you. We were planning expansion. Partner with us, we will give you a generous share. You would have a seat at the table. I paused, my back to the family, a seat at the table. I turned slowly, meeting Andrew's desperate gaze. I already have a table, Andrew, and I own the restaurant. With that, I freed myself from his grasp and walked away, leaving them to grapple with the wreckage of their shattered illusions. But that wasn't quite all. As I reached the restaurant doors, I turned back, a final revelation poised on my lips. Oh, and one more thing, I said, my voice carrying across the stunned silence. Remember that historic Hastings estate in Newport, the one you all hold so dear, the one you thought was safely protected by a labyrinthine trust? I paused, letting the implication hang in the air. Margot's eyes widened, a flicker of genuine fear replacing the carefully constructed facade. What about it? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I quietly acquired controlling interest in the management company that oversees the trust, I revealed, my tone conversational, as if discussing the weather. Which means, effectively, I control the estate now. I could sell it tomorrow, turn it into a parking lot. Though, I added with a sardonic smile, I wouldn't dream of it. Too much sentimental value, wouldn't you agree? Andrew's face crumpled, his last vestige of hope extinguished. Eliza stared blankly, her entrepreneurial spirit momentarily defeated. Margot, for once, was speechless, her carefully constructed world collapsing around her. This was control. This wasn't just about money or reputation. It was about the very foundation of their identity, the symbol of their legacy. And I held it in the palm of my hand. The color drained from Margot's face, leaving her looking gaunt and aged. Her eyes darted around the table as if searching for an escape route. Andrew slumped back in his chair, defeated. The weight of my words settled upon them, heavy and suffocating. You wouldn't, Margot finally managed to choke out, her voice trembling. I simply smiled, a serene, knowing smile that held no trace of malice, only quiet satisfaction. Wouldn't I? I turned and walked out, leaving them to their stunned silence and the stark realization of their utter powerlessness. The Hastings family's legacy, their identity, their pride all rested in the hands of the woman they had so readily dismissed. The empire they had failed to see, the power they had so foolishly ignored, had now come back to haunt them, in the most devastating way imaginable. The night air felt crisp and clean, a welcome contrast to the stifling atmosphere of the restaurant. As the glass doors closed behind me, I knew that my old life was over. A new chapter had begun, a chapter where I was no longer defined by their expectations, but by my own ambition and unwavering self-belief. My driver opened the car door and I slid inside. As the car glided away from LaFleur, I glanced back at the restaurant, the glittering lights reflecting in my eyes. The Hastings family was still inside, trapped in the wreckage of their carefully constructed world. And I, Genevieve, the wedding planner, was finally free. Years passed. The divorce was swift, the financial settlement generous, reflecting the reality of my contributions. Attempts by the Hastings to reconnect trickled in pleading emails from Andrew, saccharine voicemails from Margot. I ignored most, occasionally responding with a curt, no further communication. My company soared. I bought the penthouse I'd always dreamed of. The cloying scent of department store candles was replaced by the subtle aroma of diptych. I spent Christmas in St. Bart's with friends who saw me, not a reflection of a name. Looking back, I recognized the price I paid for their approval, a piece of myself that I do not repeat, but I can learn from. True wealth isn't a seat at a table, but the strength to build your own. Ready to build your empire. Share if you felt underestimated. Time to prove them wrong. Success, not revenge, is the sweetest victory.